Dude, that was fucking lame.
A lot of people
Shall
really
we
like
do
it.
this?
A lot of people like it. Yep.
Hey guys, Disney Channel's own.
Oh, we're gonna
Show
turn it
Me Your
on.
Pod.
Welcome back to Show Me Yours podcast with Jackie and Johnny. I'm Jackie Agnew.
I'm Johnny DeVito.
And thank you for joining us again. Or if this is your first listen, which quite a few of you it might be, welcome.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's a new year, new us.
Yeah.
Look at us go.
Look at us go.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, watch and learn, flashers.
Jesus Christ.
While you're here, why don't you give us a subscribe, a like, leave a comment, rate us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify.
Do all the stuff, all the stars, all the likes.
Yeah.
Click the stuff.
Click all the stuff.
Share it with a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, share with your friends. Share us everywhere. Just walk down the street and say...
Shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah, exactly.
We've said it before. Tell your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Go over and, I mean, we've definitely been over that before, but I think if you go over and you know, share
Kiss your
us with
neighbor
them,
on the lips. And it's a conversation starter.
it really is.
But we say this a lot, but it actually is a very special episode this week.
It is. Everybody's special, but this one was completely unlikely, and the guest that we did get this week was very cool to come down and chop it up with us for an hour. And
yeah.
great conversation.
Very exciting for us. And yeah, we're not gonna keep you here with us losers any longer.
No. Get to the goods.
Yeah, so you may know this guy from the 500 podcast, which we've been blatantly ripping off for quite a while now.
Took 41 episodes to admit it. Yeah, absolutely.
You might know him from F is for Family, from Bill Burr Presents The Ringers, or you might just be a fan of his stand-up, which you should be. Everyone, please welcome to Show Me Yours podcast, Josh Adam Meyers. Cheers to the new year and to making resolutions you actually keep. Have you added self-care to your routine?
I think it's time they should.
Yeah, well, our sponsors at Manscaped have the perfect tools to help keep you and your significant other clean and tidy this year. Manscaped tools for his jewels are so good, you'll want them for yourself. The Lawnmower 4.0 is all you'll need for his balls and your bikini line. Set your first New Year's resolution with good intentions and join the 4 million people worldwide who trust Manscaped. With our exclusive offer, go to manscaped.com and use the code SHOWMEYOURS for 20% off and free shipping. Now, everyone should try to improve themselves this year. I think it's been a tough couple years.
Oh, self-improvement just needs to be constant, but I think now more than ever.
Yeah, so focus on self-care, you know, whether that be meditating, journaling, yoga, exercise.
You know what I'm going to do instead of that? Shave my balls.
Yeah, or cleaning your balls and or your lady parts.
I think that's important. I mean, let's get serious. I like it clean. I like it clean and trimmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want to look like it like you do up here down there.
Exactly.
Let's get serious.
And I'm ready for a new year, new me with the best below the waist grooming. And this year, take your routine to the next level with their Performance Package 4.0 and brand new Ultra Premium Body Wash. Okay, you're going to get the Lawnmower 4.0 in this package. And this electric trimmer is designed with skin-safe technology to reduce cuts. And it also comes equipped with a 4000K LED spotlight that will shine a light on your diamonds.
It's awesome.
It is. And their new Ultra Premium Body Wash is made with the best ingredients, okay, to make you not mind those times when you might have to use his body wash instead of yours. All right, it's cologne infused with aloe vera and sea salt to keep your skin feeling clean, nice, and moisturized. Upgrade both your and his grooming routine this year's and use the best tools for the job. Whether your resolution is to work out more or travel to new places, be sure to travel to manscaped.com for our exclusive offer for you flashers. You get 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOWMEYOURS. And cheers to self-care in 2022. And once again, that's the code SHOWMEYOURS on manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. New year, no pubes in 2022 with Manscaped. Thank you and Happy New Year.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Today, we say that every guest is special, but today we actually have a special guest.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the 500 podcast, you know him from F's family, one of the, easily the most decorated guests that we've had on this couch, Josh Adam Meyers. Thank you so much for coming over.
Hello, Barnaby.
What's happening, man?
Just, in town to do shows at the House of Comedy, and we met last night.
Yeah.
And I have, we started talking about music, and here's what sucks to all the people watching is that, man, if you could have recorded what we were saying last night, it was a full-on podcast.
Yeah, this hour is going to pale in comparison, for sure.
We should have been recording
but,
the conversation.
I go on the road a lot. I get asked to do a lot of podcasts, and you guys want to talk music, and you said pick the album, and you both seemed like you're not going to kill me.
Yeah.
So
no, not at all.
Yeah.
Well, in the interest of that, we are talking about Stone Temple Pilots' first album, Core, early 90s release, 1992.
I don't know the date.
Oh, well, either way, Atlantic
Early
Records,
90s.
but we've never done a grunge album on here, and I'm glad that you brought it in because, I've always referred to it as stepdad rock because nobody's actual dad in mind ever actually listened to us, but all my stepdads kind of really kind of tore through this genre, and it was almost like the music of my childhood, but I was rebelling in a different direction or whatever. But listening to this record this morning, I almost turned my nose up to it at first, but no, man, it holds on.
Yeah,
that
it
really
rocks.
is funny that you. One, called it stepdad rock, but two, as a fan of punk, which was a reaction to disco, to the pop music at the time, the rock music, which was getting really big, the Kiss, the fucking grandiose, stage show, and then you have these guys that are like, no, we can do this, we can make rock and roll, but our version of it, we don't have to be classically trained guitar players or even have to know chord structures
Totally.
for power chords.
Yeah.
We can make these songs because we were talking about the Sex Pistols
100%,
last night,
yeah.
which were in a sense the band that kind of were leading the punk charge in England, and I guess I got over to the States. I don't know the timeline, everybody, so don't get mad at me.
No,
I'm
we
assuming it's usually around that time. Then the Ramones, and then all that other stuff started buttoning up, and where. You kind of said you were going to turn your nose to this record. I don't know. I guess I'm a little heartbroken.
Well, no, that was absolutely.
I think I'm a little heartbroken because if you just would have researched grunge, which I just had Kim Thale. I don't know when this is coming out, but the next episode of my podcast, we did Soundgarden Super Unknown, and we had the guitarist Kim Thale.
Very cool.
Fucking. From Seattle, one of the nicest guys, and we talked about the word grunge because it's really it was grunge wasn't even a style of music. It was more just going from you have to keep in mind this hair metal is so big in the 80s,
Totally.
and you have Poison and Motley Crue and White Lion and every band with big hair and.
Were you calling it that at the time, with hair metal, or is grunge something that you a term that you used to write about it after the fact, when you were going when you were going to the shows and if you were kind of seeing this?
I didn't go.
Oh, okay.
I have to keep in mind, all right, so because there's you have moments in your life that in a sense are turning points where it's everything's different now,
Right.
So. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, and, music was kind of in my house. My dad would listen to jazz, and my mom had Sgt. Pepper's, and, it wasn't it was you got to listen to this. But it was just, I was always drawn to music. And I remember at a very young age, I got into the Beatles, and then Bon Jovi was big, and Run DMC, and the Beastie Boys, and all the bands that were kind of popular. And then I went to like a record store. We were at the mall when I must have been, 6 or 7, 7 years old. I know for a fact because that was when I first saw Iron Maiden. And their stage character that's kind of on all their records. This guy Eddie, he's like the zombie dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was always like drawn to like horror stuff. So I saw that and I was like, wow, what is that? That's so cool. And then I just became obsessed with Iron Maiden.
Do you know which the first one was? It like Killers or like
No,
the
it was
Trooper?
it was the first one I got was I think Power Slave.
Nice. Yeah.
And then I got Live After Death. For my birthday, and then Somewhere in Time, and just like I didn't understand it. I just knew that there was something that I really liked about some of the songs, but I really just liked that character, Eddie, and that really drew me to them.
Yeah.
And then it was like just the unfolding of what was popular in hair metal, which was like Poison, and then I found Guns N' Roses, which Guns N' Roses like changed my life, and I would never put Guns N' Roses in hair metal. They're rock and roll.
I think
They're
Appetite for Destruction is one of the best 10 out of 10 flawless albums.
It's perfect. It's a perfect rock and roll record.
Absolutely.
That out of all the shit from the 80s that was made in the hair metal scene or in that heavy metal scene, Appetite for Destruction is I mean, they still sell out stadiums. They still, and it's like their music is still like Sweet Child of Mine and Paradise City and Welcome to the Jungle. I mean, it's incredible, and not counting out anything they did after Appetite, but
no, there's something about that though. Like even if you're like as a fan of rock and roll, like, especially I think younger people or whatever, we're kind of like bound by like genres. Like this is the bands that I like, or this is kind of the identity that you're trying to fit. But if you're a fan of rock and roll at all and you put that record on and you can't, then you're probably not listening. You know what I mean? Like it's that good.
It's something you like music.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't find and appreciate like how good the song "Sweet Child of Mine" is, because that's probably the most easily accessible song.
Oh yeah.
Because we close out the goddamn comedy jam with "Sweet Child of Mine," and it's like, I remember when the first time we did the jam, we ended with Purple Rain, and I was like, we'll just end with Purple Rain every show, big sing along. And my buddies were like, no, we should do a different song. And I was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And they're like, how about Sweet Child? And I was like, I was like, I love it, but I just don't know. And dude, and then the second we tried it for the first time, I was like, oh yeah, this is totally. We're gonna do this one, not all the time, but just have that in our repertoire. And so I was like, I had this like, really like deep love for the music of the 80s and the metal of the 80s. And it's like, but I can always remember, you're starting to get to like in the 90s at this point. So I'm like 12, 13 years old, maybe 12. And I remember being on my parents' sofa in the living room. And we had just had a flood in the house. And I remember like the carpet was kind of like ripped up, and we had people kind of coming in and working on the house. And I remember watching MTV. And they showed a video for this really lame band called Nelson, even though I had their record.
Okay.
Right.
These two twin brothers, like long
Never heard of them. Okay. Yeah.
They both look like they look like they're from the House of Dragons and Game of Thrones. Like I can't think of the character's name, but the one chick, that ended up being the bad guy to end the series. What's her name?
Oh,
Dianaris or Tyanaris or
something.
Tzatziki.
All that stuff is out of the head.
Tzatziki a sauce on gyros.
Highly recommended.
Yeah. But I remember watching that, and then immediately the next video was "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and it was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is like the exact opposite of everything where in the 80s was all showmanship and fucking just machismo and cockstrong shit. And it was suddenly, you have these guys in like flannels with like really knotty hair, and they're not wearing makeup, and they're just, it's a combination of rock and roll and punk and all this other stuff. And it suddenly just became like, yeah, this is cool. And then suddenly all the bands of the 80s, I mean, they talk about all those stories of like Poison's like Unskinny Bop was like, you walk into whatever the record company was, and like there's posters on the wall, like, from these are the bands that we're trying to push. And then like as soon as Nirvana got big, all of that was gone, and it's Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. So then I'm not saying I immediately got attracted to grunge or that music, but it was definitely there. And then I started kind of opening up and listening to hip hop and, like Tribe Called Quest, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what year it was. I don't know how old I was, if I was 13 or 14. But I remember I was working with my friend Greg. We used to hand out flyers for this gym, and there was an older guy that had a car that worked for that same company, for Philbin's Health and Fitness Center. It's not there anymore. But we were out delivering flyers one day, and the guy who drove the car had the radio on. I think it was like HFS or 98 Rock, one of the stations in the DC area. And Stone Temple Pilots' Plush came on. And it was like, what the fuck is that? And it was just like an obsession, because I'm the kind of music fan that when a song gets in here, all I want to do is listen to it over and over and over again.
Yes.
Yeah, I do the same. Yeah.
And
it's a sickness.
It's
yeah.
no, I don't even know.
But it's the best thing though. Like that's the
Yeah.
it almost sucks because you'll almost play out something that you really love. You know what I mean? To
you'll
the point
listen
where
to it till you hate it.
Yeah. Well, not. I mean, it'll stay there for the rest of the time. But we'll get into a car and then you know what I mean. Some song that I haven't heard in a while, but that hit me like that, will come right back there. You remember every word. You remember everything about it. Like it just kind of like it stores like it I don't know. It puts itself in like a weird memory bank in there.
There was a song this year that I started listening to because I was for doing the podcast now. Like I don't just sit with.
I got you.
I had loosey hands, everybody.
It's dramatic.
I was like, I don't just usually throw that.
You're just making a scene.
Oh my God.
Make yourself at home.
I do that all the time.
Make yourself at home.
Settle right in. Yeah.
Dude, I did that. That's what I swear to God, I'm just such a spaz. Like I was on a date with this girl in New York a few months ago, and I had a couple sets at the Comedy Cellar. So she was like, "Hey, let's meet up tonight. Somehow I'm free. So if you want to go out tonight, let's do it." And I'm like, "All right. Well, I have to be in the West Village at 10:30, so let's go around there." And she's like, "All right." And she picks out this place. And we go to meet, and she's really cute, and we start talking, we're hitting it off, and we're sitting outside on 4th Street, and next thing I know, this group of comics that I'm friends with from the Comedy Cellar walk by, and they're like, "Hey, Josh," and they dap me up, and they're kind of like, look at the girl, like, "Dude, he's a good dude," and the girl's like, "Oh, who are these people?" And
talk to you a little bit, good guys.
Like, "Oh, who are they?" I was like, "Oh, they're comics."
To do this? Yeah.
And then 5 minutes later, Sam Morrell, another comic at the Comedy Cellar that I'm buddies with, walks by and he daps me up, and the girl's like, "Oh my God, how many people do you know?"
Holy shit, are you somebody?
Yeah.
This is what I do. And then I swear to God, within 2 minutes from that, the food runner comes to drop off our like spinach and artichoke dip.
Yeah.
Because that's my go-to on dates. It's like I don't
Oh,
always
yeah.
spend.
It's a
I don't buy
classy
meals. I buy apps. Unless I like you,
Yeah.
and then I'll buy a full meal.
Yeah.
Classy move.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Test the waters, right? I mean, come on, you don't want to go all in on a
Dip your
ribeye,
toes
right?
in.
Come on.
Yeah.
But sometimes you go to a restaurant where the spinach dip is $25, like this one place in New York, and that was like, I was like, all we had was half a sandwich and a spinach dip, and her 2 glasses of wine, and the bill was like $90, and I was like,
Oh,
fuck.
God.
But
Yeah.
here's what's funny. So then the server comes by, drops off the food, and he's like, "Yeah, here's your spinach dip." And then he leans in, he goes, "Hey man, I just want to tell you, I'm a huge fan of the goddamn Comedy Jam. I go all the time." Nice. And I'm just like,
Nice.
"Oh, thanks, man." And the girl's like, "Oh my God." And then the date's going perfect, and it's going great. And I mean, literally, it's like I'm gonna say to her, like, "So I've got my sets, but if you want to hang out like tomorrow or something."
Yep.
And so I go to like, there's like a break in the conversation, and then I just go to like be like, "Hey, if you want to hang out," and I swear to God, the second I said that, I just knocked her wine glass over, it shattered, wine like all over her. She's like,
You couldn't have had more assists and more like this was a layup at this point.
Yeah, everything was going in your favor.
luckily, it didn't upset her enough, and it wasn't that
That's good.
ridiculous.
There you go.
And I think it was more funny, but still,
Yeah.
like if another girl could have been like, you know.
Yeah, I'm the fuck out of here.
Nah, you're a spaz.
Yeah, I'm the worst for that shit too. I always every time I drink anything, I miss my mouth. It always like ends up like all over my face. I'm always like knocking my drinks over, usually on myself.
Oh, my bed is full of pistachio dust from you right now.
Yeah.
You're
There are certain like spaz moments I've had that I remember perfectly. Jason Momoa, the guy that played, he was in the show Vikings.
Is he fucking Aquaman?
Aquaman is one of them. Yeah. It's Aquaman. My cousin was next door neighbors with this guy Michael Raymond James, who's an actor that works nonstop. He's a buddy.
Okay.
And they were all like the cool actors, and Mike's best friend is Jason Momoa. Okay. And Jason used to come around all the time. It's before when he was only on Stargate, before Conan, before he blew up.
Yeah.
He's still a cool dude.
Oh, for
He's
sure.
a big dude, long hair, cool tattoos. He had dreadlocks back then. But I remember we were out partying one night, and I just moved to LA, and I'm trying to be cool to fit in with all of them. And it's me, Mike, my cousin, a bunch of their friends are out, and Jason, the guy from Vikings, I don't know his name. He's Australian. I think he played Tarzan in something. We're at this bar on Sunset, and I go to grab the beer, and this big tall boy of a PBR, and it slips out of my hands and just knocks all over the bar. And they look at me, and I just look at them because I'm kind of wasted. And I go, "It was slippy." Not slippery, slippy. And then they were like, "Slippy?" In front of Jason, in front of all of them. So I remember every detail of it. They probably don't remember any of it.
Oh no, but that's one of those that's gonna burn into your head. Like that boils your blood at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep. You're like, "Fuck, why did I do that?"
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Slippy,
I have so
what
many
is
of those
Slippy?
memories.
Oh yeah.
Oh god. Yeah.
But back to Stone Temple Pilots. There was this thing about it where, especially for me in my life, where because I got the album, I just started listening to it nonstop, and it became something where it was because I was already kind of I used to run home when I was a kid and put on my boombox and just sing into the mirror and imagine I was on stage, and so it was something that I just loved doing. I was good at, but when I heard Scott Weiland's voice, it wasn't so much that I was like, well, I don't know if I can do what Axl Rose does. I was like, I can do what he does.
There you go.
I can sing like that. I can sing, I can hit those notes. Yeah. And I just thought he was the coolest. And so at that point, it was suddenly all the bands I listened to from the 80s were done, and it was Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains.
It's such a time in a young teenage year to kind of feel like you found your thing, right?
Well,
I think there's there's something as soon as my parents listened to a lot of music as well, but as soon as something kind of spoke to me, and the same thing with guitar playing, right? I've been playing for years. I'm still just god awful at it, but there was something that drove me to a Green Day album being that, okay, by the end of the day, I could, I could do some of this rather than, listening to, Iron Maiden or Pantera or whatever my brother was listening to at the time that I couldn't really, I still loved it. It was tough. It was heavy. It was fast, but there was something about it that was almost inaccessible. You know what I mean? So it's I think that was a big reason to kind of get into punk, and that was as well as lyrics and all the shit they were singing about as well.
Grunge was grunge was a reaction to the metal of the 80s, just like I said, punk was a reaction to the music of the 70s.
I think you can hear it too. There's something raw about this, especially the first track or whatever, when it comes in, it's not your bubblegum pretty packaged rock, you know what I mean? There was something tough and I think deliberately different.
I think the album is and the tracks are sequenced perfectly. I feel I think by opening with Dead and Bloated, that because he would do this thing that I've copied, and I think it's still one of the coolest things ever, which is he takes the megaphone.
Is he the first guy to do that? I was watching some YouTube clips of that, but it was cool, man. The sound on the videos were great, with him doing it. I saw them live. I've seen Stone Temple Pilots live 3 times. Never. I think the first tour I saw was the 3rd record. Because here's what sucks, man, about that band is that very early on, he had a really bad heroin addiction.
Right.
And ultimately, that's what killed him.
Yeah.
So he was in and out of jail. Albums took longer than they were supposed to. But that first record, there was something really, really great about it, because I don't know if he was on the drugs yet. Because it's definitely the deeper you get into their catalog, you start seeing that most of the songs are about his addiction that he wrote.
Well, a lot of the stuff, like the Stone Temple Pilots, I mean, me being like a decade younger, the Stone Temple Pilots that I know isn't the record that I heard this morning.
Yeah.
Because even though I might have like kind of turned my nose up at the the Stone Temple Pilots, because I know that like their 2000s jam or whatever with Sarah Michelle Gellar in the video, or what I can't remember.
Sour Girl.
Yeah, Sour Girl, exactly. Yeah. So much different, and I think. I don't know if like grunge as an entire genre kind of evolved out of like, you know what I mean, like where it was, but it doesn't have like the rawness, you know what I mean? Like
Grunge died when Kurt Cobain died.
Was that what? Like
that was,
like hot, like a hot 8 years, 10
1990,
years, something?
I mean, you might want to look
incredible,
it up.
yeah.
I think. All right, so to give you a little like weird backstory on me, not even weird, but just getting off the record, but getting into how my life changed was that. So I started getting into Stone Temple Pilots, and then I'm in 9th grade, and I'm hanging out with my buddies Greg and Siedenberg, and we're drinking, stealing liquor out of my mom's liquor cabinet, and just being young. And Greg and Mike were 2 years older than me. And then I remember there were like these guys that were in my high school that I used to see hanging out the smoking section, and I don't know if I had just started smoking cigarettes yet, but I in 9th grade I started smoking like Marlboro Reds.
Yeah. Oh,
and so next thing I know, I was like, oh well, I know Ben and Tassos and these other guys that were kind of like those. They wore the flannels and the Doc Martens. That was like really cool, and there's something that attracted me to them, and I didn't like completely stop hanging out with Greg and Siedenberg, but I was like, these are the guys I want to hang out with, because I knew they were also musicians.
Totally.
And so by the time I'm in 9th grade, Kurt Cobain, I think he had died that April. So by 9th grade, both of Nirvana's albums had come out, and so he's passed away. I think, god damn, man.
I think he passed away in 94.
Yeah, and I graduated high school in 1990.
Shit.
I graduated high school in 1997. He died in April 94. So right around April, May, the end of the school year is when I started hanging out with him. And I remember like we would go smoke cigarettes and smoke pot, and like there was a guy that loved Pearl Jam. This kid, I think his name was Jacob, but they would like make fun of him because he liked Pearl Jam, and they were like, "Cause we're Nirvana," and I didn't give a fuck.
What different? Like, what's the difference between like In Utero or 10? Like, are they coming out around the same time? Like, I mean, a lot of that. I mean, I know the difference between like Blink-182 or like, you know what I mean, something a little bit like harder down the line, or like Rancid or something like that. People like turn their head to like more poppy stuff, or what's the difference in Pearl Jam when it kind of seems like a pretty small umbrella as it is of like a few bands.
I don't know, man. I just remember. I think there's. When you're younger, you just have rivalries with whatever is against what I mean, at least me. If there was something that I'm really like, I remember how much I loved Wu-Tang.
Right.
Later in high school, I loved Wu-Tang, and there were other people that loved Bone Thugs and Harmony, and they thought Art of War was better than. They thought Art of War was a bigger and better album than
36 Chambers?
No, than Wu-Tang Forever.
What the fuck?
Because they came out around the same time.
Okay, fair enough.
The second Wu-Tang album came out right around Art of War by Bone Thugs, and not them. I don't know how they felt.
Sure.
But I despised Bone Thugs and Harmony. I was like, why? How could you even put them in the same class?
100%. I
It's
totally agree.
It's just not even the same thing. Like this is this is one of the greatest hip hop records ever made, and this is just a bunch of guys like
gets repetitive after, East 1990. Like, exactly,
It just didn't. Make
I'm gonna
sense.
miss everybody. Fuck that.
And so maybe that was just me, and like the way that like the way when I become obsessed with a band. Or a sports team, like I remember when I was younger, I would argue with these dudes on the bus that I went to middle school with about the, like I was about to say the racist name, the Washington football team,
Yeah.
or the the Bullets or whatever team that I really fucking loved in whatever sport, and they would just go against me, and that's why I hated their teams because I loved mine so much, even though my teams were fucking butt cheeks, theirs were fucking good because they always chose the teams.
Everybody cheers fair weather fan bullshit. You know what I mean? Just because like nobody was a fan of like I'm from Canada, Western Canada. Nobody was a fan of the 76ers until Allen Iverson got there when I'm in like middle school, right? Get the fuck out of here. We were just not around for the earlier generation of the Sixers, right?
Yeah, but you also had the Grizzlies, and now they're gone.
Yeah, exactly. Marketing and like you fucking put Big Country on there instead of okay, we don't.
I loved Big Country.
Well, yeah, we could have had Radcliffe, man.
I really liked him, man. Yeah. Maybe you still have a team.
Yeah.
You didn't draft some kind of shitty player.
Shows up to he would show up to training camp like 200 pounds overweight and shit like that. That guy's a fucking idiot.
Well, it's crazy that grunge never really. I don't know if it. How far away are you from Seattle?
It's about. we get there in 2 hours, 3 hour drive.
Yeah.
It's a 2-3 hour drive.
Close,
I mean, right where you are, 3 hours down the road, there's this like whole scene that was basically started. That, I mean, just a small city that suddenly just took over everything. I mean, you keep this in mind, like Pearl Jam or Eddie Vedder in particular and Kurt Cobain were on the cover of Time magazine.
It's insane.
It was a huge thing because it changed culture. It changed the way people dressed. It changed the way people acted. There were suddenly movies about it. Cameron Crowe did singles. It just became this huge thing. Like, I'm really glad I'm the age that I'm at now, and like I went through what I went through. Yeah. But I mean, talking to people that are like that were in their 20s or in their like their mid 20s when grunge like blew up.
Yeah, watching all this bubble up, that's crazy.
It just like and they talk about the shift. My friend Morty, who used to work on the podcast, told me about it, and like he grew up listening to the Partridge Family and in the 70s and and stuff like that because he's like in his 50s now. Yeah, but being like of how everything suddenly went from being the coolest thing ever to how lame they looked at like Motley Crue. Motley Crue is, and I was obsessed with Motley Crue.
Well, that's the crazy thing is like it almost like just overnight, right? It just took like dirty hair and a flannel or something like that to make what was. It's funny to think that like Vince Neil or any of that was like tough or whatever, but Shout at the Devil would have been badass when it came out. You'd imagine, right? Like if there was nothing else, or nothing like harder or dirtier or whatever to compare it to, right? It seems weird that just overnight that would become, like get this shit out of here. Right?
And look, they like a lot of those bands stuck around. I mean, Tommy Lee is now married to my ex-girlfriend.
Get the fuck out of here!
Oh my god!
Yeah, they're married.
The life you lead, Josh.
That's crazy. It's 10 years ago. We broke up 10 years ago. It's fine. I'm not like hung up on it at all. Yeah. I actually get such a kick out of it because I mean, you just have to go back and look at how obsessed I was with Motley Crue when I was young. Like I have obsession bands. I have bands that Stone Temple Pilots is one of them. Wu-Tang is one of them. Radiohead and the Beatles and
like tattoos every records.
Gomez, and then you get into like don't even get me started about like Britpop. Like I mean Gomez and Travis and just early Coldplay. Yeah, it was brilliant. And I remember how obsessed I was with Motley Crue, and then years and years later to be like, oh well, a girl that I was at one point engaged with is now married to Tommy Lee. Fucking, I think that's so rad.
That's the coolest thing ever.
Wild. Yeah.
If you would have told me, I tried to make the joke on stage, but I was like, if you would have because I remember when I was like a little kid, and I was watching the American Music Awards, and Motley Crue lost to Poison, and I might have been 12 or 13 years old, and I was up in my parents' bedroom watching it on their TV, and I started crying, and not just crying, like really angry.
Yeah, like you've been that fanatical. Like I know what you mean.
Like really angry.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And my dad walked in, and he was like, "What happened? What are you crying about?" And I was like, "They lost to Poison." And he was like, "Wait, who died of poison?" I was like, "No." But I always say, if I could have just gone back in time to that kid sitting on the bed crying and just like whisper in his ear, it's like, you are going to be Eskimo brothers with Tommy Lee one day. I'd be like, what?
Oh yeah, that gives you enough to get through the next day for sure. That's fucking awesome.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like all of those bands suddenly just went away, and grunge which is really just rock and roll. It's like when you really look at it, like that was society in a sense giving a label. They didn't call it grunge.
Right.
You know, when I talked to Cam on the podcast, he never. It was just rock and roll. I mean, Soundgarden is almost progressive rock.
Yeah.
Right.
Stone Temple Pilots, on the other hand, which I come to find out years later, was almost like a band. Because I remember like Tassos and Ben and Dave Collin, the guys that loved Pantera and they loved Nirvana. They didn't look at Stone Temple Pilots. Like we would cover Plush and we would cover a couple songs by them in our like makeshift band that we were in. But like they did it only because I wanted to do it.
Okay.
Right.
It wasn't something that they really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Right.
And I knew that because they'd make fun of it. They'd be like, "This is a chord. This is a Pantera chord." And they'd play it and they'd go, "This is Stone Temple Pilots' version of it." And it was this weird fingering, and they'd be like, and it would be like a minor and a major and all this weird shit. And so years later, there's a really great YouTube page called Rock and Roll True Stories.
Okay.
And this guy is just putting out all this great material, all these stories of like, you know, whatever happened to the Toadies, or like, you know, what's the feud between Anthony Kiedis and Mr. Bungle. And one of the stories was about Stone Temple Pilots, and he starts talking about Stone Temple Pilots, and like there was like the critics did not like them because they weren't like this original band like everybody thought Pearl Jam was. Pearl Jam, in a sense, like you have Eddie's voice and you have Matt and Mike's guitar and.
Well, I heard David Spade did a Weekend Update joke about that. I was doing a little bit of the homework, watching as much like YouTube stuff as I could find. But yeah, like right at the beginning, you have everybody comparing them to Pearl Jam. But I also read that in their first year, I think after this album came out, Rolling Stone had the fans decide like best band of the year, and the readers chose Stone Temple Pilots as the best band of the year, and the Rolling Stone music critics voted them the worst new band of the year. You know what I mean? Like it's so like such a.
They were very popular. They were very,
but it seems
very
weird that like the
popular.
tastemakers would say no to it, but like I mean, it's clearly undeniable.
I think
it's
I think it's like the same kind of situation that bands like Styx and REO Speedwagon, where they're called corporate rock.
Right.
You know, and years later you listen to their music and you're like, oh my God, like this, you know, I Can't Stop. Keep On Loving You is such a great song by REO Speedwagon, and
Renegade
Lady
kicks ass.
by Styx. Renegade rules. But you know, at the time when you're a regular music fan, you know, or if you love Pearl Jam or you love Nirvana, and then you hear Stone Temple Pilots, it does have like a corporate rock feel to it, but that doesn't mean it's not good.
Right.
And for 13-year-old me, handing out flyers that day, you know, having aspirations of wanting to be in bands, and it was like, oh, this, like I said, this is like, I can do this, you know, and the evolution of, I mean, if you go through the tracks on that, I mean, it's like not just Dead and Bloated and Sex Type Thing. I mean, Wicked Garden is fucking sick.
But like
Plush
Creep,
is
like mellows out, and then it even has like Wet My Bed or whatever. Like that shit is, you know
Wet
what I
My
mean?
Bed is, I mean, that's like a but I mean,
They're fucking around.
There's like, I don't remember every track listing's name, but what ends side 1 into side 2 is incredible. It opens, I think, with Piece of Me into Cracker Man. It's just, but Cracker Man fucking rules.
That was the one that kind of really stuck with me today when I was listening to it. Yeah.
I mean, it's like you see them do that live, and he pulls out the megaphone, and he's like, Romeo, and he used to, seeing him on stage. I've stolen so much of his stuff on stage.
We watched you open last night, and you got, you know what I mean? If you're fucking around kind of singing with the crowd or whatever at the beginning of your show.
I wouldn't say that's him.
I know,
That's
but it was
just
funny.
me.
You could see it like.
That's just me trying to just do anything to be present.
Yeah.
I feel like as a stand-up comic, like if I just go up there and start talking, it's not really me.
Right.
Like I might be in my head, or he's still thinking about something earlier in the day or whatever. So by doing that, it just makes me feel. There's a comic named Sean Patton.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who I love. And he goes on stage and he kind of like almost digs himself a hole at the beginning by just riffing, and sometimes it's really funny and sometimes it's not. But what it does is it just puts him in the room, and I needed something that I think would always just bring me right there.
Yeah.
And that does. I'm not so much on stage doing stand-up do I rip off Scott Weiland, but when I do the goddamn comedy jam, I mean, a lot of his moves, we did the megaphone thing before. He was such a great frontman, which is why when Stone Temple Pilots broke up in the early 2000s, and then Velvet Revolver, the short life of that band.
I remember them being like it. Like I don't know if they were a Flash in the Pan. Was Slash involved in that?
It was half Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
One half Stone Temple Pilots. So it was Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots, and then Slash, Duff, and Matt Sorum from GNR, and my buddy who does the music on F is for Family, Dave Kushner, who's a friend of Slash's.
Right.
Was like the rhythm. And I remember when I started hearing about that band getting together, I don't think I've ever been that excited. And then they did, before the record came out, because they first released there was a song off the soundtrack to the Ang Lee Hulk movie, which really gets shit on.
Is that the one with Edward Norton? Because that one kicks ass.
No, that was Eric Bana.
Oh, Eric Bana. The first, yeah. That movie, I saw it in theaters. I have a soft spot for it.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah.
I was just a boy,
fine.
Jackie. I was just a boy.
It was fine. It was before the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was fine, and it was really like. And Ang Lee is a 2-time Oscar-winning director, so to do a fucking superhero movie is fucking cool.
Yeah.
But "Set Me Free" was a song from that movie, and then they had Slither come out, which I remember the video for that coming out. And then before the record came out, Velvet Revolver did like a tour of mini theaters around the country, one of them being the 930 Club in Washington, D.C., which is one of the greatest music venues you could ever go to. I've seen so many bands there. Every show, there's no bad seat in the house. Awesome. And it's small. Like I think 600 people is the most you could get in there.
I like those like mid-size. Like I mean, especially for like a band that almost like is too big to play those rooms. That's those.
Oh, dude, it was. I went with my buddy, and I mean, I don't think I've ever been as excited for a show in my life. And then the record came out, and it was just like an obsession record. And the second record came out, and it was good. Didn't have the same like spark as the first one, but that was also because the second record they were already on their way out.
Yeah,
like it didn't seem like Scott was going back on drugs and they were having issues. And then they broke up. And
did they come onto the scene like announcing like we're gonna be here, like we're gonna do this for real, or was that because I thought like sometimes those supergroup bands can almost just like come in for like one and kind of get out.
I mean, look, Audioslave did 3 records.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think like the first record was great, and I think they had some hits on the second and the third one. But you're dealing with egos. You're dealing when
oh my god, at that time too, like
the
fucking like some of the biggest names in rock and roll.
I just think that Velvet Revolver didn't work because Scott Weiland had a horrible drug problem.
Makes sense.
Like as a person who did opiates for years, and I've done heroin, but not like that wasn't my drug of choice.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't imagine being addicted to heroin. Like if I ever would have just been like, all right, fuck it, I'll just start doing heroin because it's cheaper.
Right.
Either I'd be dead or I'd be in jail or I would be working in recovery somewhere because it's like hard to suddenly get off heroin and then go, all right, back to a normal life.
Right.
Because you have this thing that's so great. And so you got to imagine a guy has got all the money in the world.
Yeah.
And he's got this horrible drug problem, and he's in a band that's playing shows, and the only way he can play these shows is if he's high, and so then he starts doing fucked up things for it, which gets him into legal trouble. Yeah. And then you have 3 members in the band that aren't doing drugs, or if they are doing drugs, they're not doing heroin.
No, and like I mean, I think they like with GNR, like their heyday in that was would have been 15 years prior to fucking Velvet Revolver, right? Like wouldn't they be like?
Well, I was talking more. I was talking more about Stone Temple Pilots,
Stone Temple Pilots,
which you can see like the band got back together and broke up so many times.
Yeah, didn't they have like Chester Bennington front them for a bit? And
I think so. Yeah,
I think that was more recently. It was like 2015 or something like that.
That was. Yeah, that was fucking whack.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys also did a record. The band did a record with the lead singer of Filter. It was called Army of Anyone. They have one really good song. Okay. And then there was another band. There's a song called Hello, Hello, which is, so it's like all those other bands are just the music of Stone Temple Pilots,
Right.
With a different singer.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it just doesn't work for me.
There's,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
no,
not
I'm
the
the
same.
same way. There's like bands that can successfully do a singer switch are fucking few and far between. But when, you know what I mean, like when an
Van
identity
Halen.
of the band,
That's it.
yeah.
Who else? Dude, I'm sorry, but
I mean,
the lead singer.
Think AC/DC?
Okay, yeah,
Fair
they
enough,
have to.
yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
were actually really quite big.
Yes.
Right.
I
But they
think
also
so.
had Mutt Lang producing. And Mutt Lang did Shania Twain.
Yeah.
The guy writes hits.
Oh, yeah.
He
Absolutely.
did Def Leppard. Like, Mutt Lang's the fucking man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
If you're watching Mutt,
fuck yeah. Reach out to the boy.
Yeah, Mutt.
hit your boy
Mutt's
up.
it.
I got a new album. I want you to produce my first record at 42.
We're all dying to
Yeah,
hear.
Mutt listens to the podcast. He'll definitely.
Huge
Oh,
fan.
yeah, big fan,
huge
big fan.
Huge fan.
Friend of the cat.
No, but I don't. For me in particular, it was like I could have given a fuck about
Yeah.
Rob and Dean DeLeo, and then the drummer, whatever his name was, Kurtz or something. It was all Scott Weiland. Scott Weiland was. I thought he was the coolest. I mean, there's something like, when I think of the greatest frontmans of my lifetime. I'm not talking about Jim Morrison, because
Sure.
he died before
Yeah,
I was
of course.
alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I put in my opinion, Scott Weiland was one of the greatest frontmen I had ever seen, and I was attracted to him. I thought he was cool.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I wish I was tall and fucking heroin skinny.
Yeah.
Right. Gaunt.
And like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, but a handsome
Gaunt.
gaunt though.
Yeah.
He fucking
Bony.
wore that
Yeah.
shit well.
it's Christian Bale and the Machinist.
Yeah.
Skinny.
Yeah,
But it was
that
like,
guy could get it right now.
but dude, he was like, he had like, I remember when they did, and this is what kind of sucks about Stone Temple Pilots. Not sucks, but sucks about society and the way they viewed them. They had an incredible MTV Unplugged. They had a great MTV
I
Unplugged.
just saw that coming across it. That's worth going to, because I mean we did the homework, but I mean shit, between talking tonight and leading up to this or whatever, that looks like, I mean even like reading about it is the one to go check out.
Well, the best MTV
I saw
Unplugged.
his like, well they did like an MTV was it Plush, just like a one song performance on something that was
Plush.
fucking
They did
fantastic.
Big Empty before the second record came out.
Okay.
They did Sex Type Thing, but they did this like jazzy version of it, which is whatever. But they opened with Cracker Man, and it sounded great.
Nice.
I think they did Wicked Garden. It's great. It's not the best MTV
Right.
Unplugged. The best MTV Unplugged, which everybody will say Nirvana, because he died shortly after.
Right, yeah.
And it is like a time
It's
capsule.
an iconic
Yeah,
performance.
Very
Absolutely.
iconic. I mean, to end
Yeah.
with "Where Did You Sleep Last
Fuck
Night"
yeah.
is this, and it's so beautiful, especially when he's screaming, and it's
Yeah.
like, it's powerful. My favorite, which I think is the best, is Alice in Chains.
Okay.
Alice in Chains Unplugged. My buddy Angelo used to. We were big on clips, and
Yep.
and because of him, and that's why I think I'm so attracted to Big J, because every time I hang out with Jay, it's always we like, check out this clip, and
Yep.
we're always
Right.
showing each other
Yep.
things.
Yeah.
And Ange used to just love showing me these performances. There's a great performance of Queens of the Stone Age on the Henry Rollins show doing Misfit Love.
Hell yeah, cool.
That it's so badass.
There was MTV Unplugged did Korn, and believe it or not,
That's terrible.
Fuck, man,
No.
you don't like it. A lot of people will turn their nose up at it,
Dude.
man. I'm saying it's worth the fucking check
Dude,
out,
nah,
dude. I'm not a
Hold on.
fucking
Don't
Korn
need to
fan.
watch it.
Nope.
Hold up. I'll tell you a funny story.
Stop it and fucking and go check it out.
So-
You'll be justified.
No.
Don't do that.
So I went to go see Korn with Jay and Soder, and their respective girlfriends, in I think it was Long Island, and this is 3 months ago at the most. And we did something really cool where Jay's friends with the drummer, and I'm friends with the new bass player in Korn. My friend
Is Fieldy gone? Oh shit. I don't
Fieldy's in
know.
rehab,
Okay.
or he's
no
dealing
shit.
with shit.
Okay.
So
okay.
so Rod Diaz from Suicidal Tendencies.
Oh, fuck
he's
yeah.
a big comedy fan.
Yeah.
We became
Yeah.
friends. He lives up in Ventura. I used to go up to Ventura a lot, and so we just became homies. And like,
Cool.
and so when Korn was coming around, the show got canceled like twice, and
Yeah.
and I go on the Bonfire a lot, and. And so when I saw Korn was coming to New York area,
Yeah.
I reached out to Jay. I go, "Hey man," I was like, "Korn's coming around. You want me to get us tickets?" And he was like, mad that I would ask would tell him I could get the tickets when he's like,
Spirit,
no,
fuck you, I get
I'm
you
friends
tickets."
with the drummer and the lead singer.
Yeah.
I get you tickets. And so they bring me on air and they have this whole thing where like Jay is mad at me.
Right.
Dude, I'm sorry. I'm homies with the dude.
Yeah.
And he goes, no. He's like, Josh, I know you know so many people in music. And you
Oh, is that because they've been giving you shit on that?
yeah,
My
yeah.
homie.
my homies? Yeah. Well, hey, man, I'm sorry I'm friends with a lot of people.
Hey, fucking
Yeah.
hey, man. No,
Yeah.
dude, I think he sounds butthurt, but
I'm sorry that I
yeah.
did cocaine with Omar from The Wire, and I'm sorry that he doesn't. It was in 2005 and 6 before Instagram existed.
Yes, I think it sounds like Jay.
Soder.
Yeah.
I'm sorry he doesn't follow me because our friendship fizzled out because of time. But did I spend weeks getting high with that dude? Yes. And you can ask Matt Zostek, my old roommate. You can ask fucking JP, my old roommate. You could ask the girl that Mike walked in on me fucking. That Omar was my homie. You could ask my professor that he came to my college to help me with my student project. That is beyond. That is beyond just being an influence and getting out.
No, there's Coke friends, and then there's like friends that will come help you out at a
Buddies.
school, man.
Nah,
I'm
dude,
saying
that pissed me. I mean,
that's bigger than a Coke
Jay
friend.
and Soder both know that one when they made fun of me about the Mike Williams one, that kind of pissed me off. Even though I know, but they were kidding.
You're just giving them the bait to
Right.
go deeper, though. You get
Yeah,
mad,
there's
man.
yeah, you don't
I'm
seem
just
pissed
mad.
off
I'm
at
just
all.
telling all the people.
Just
I
let the
was-
record fucking be straight. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's like, I'm sorry that camera phones weren't fucking alive back then because I'd have 1,000 pictures with them because
Totally.
I love taking pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the moral of the story is, so we're getting ready to go, and so me and Jay and Soder come up with a deal where it's like, or a bet, like we're both gonna ask our respective friends in Korn to get us 3 tickets,
Right.
3 or 4 tickets. We're gonna ask for 4. We're not gonna tell him that the other guy is asking for more tickets from his friend in the band,
Right.
and we're gonna see who gets the better seats.
Right.
So I reached out to Ra. Ra's like, of course, dude. He reached out to his dude. His dude's like, of course.
Yeah.
So we show up to the show that day, and we both walk up to the thing.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, we're literally in the same row.
No shit.
Oh
Together.
my God.
Here's where Jay won. Jay got a backstage pass. I did not, even though he couldn't go backstage because of COVID.
Okay.
And then we
yeah.
went and
It's
sat
the
in our
thought
seat.
that counts, though. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
We went and sat in our seat, and he had 3 seats, or 3 or 4 seats. He had 4 seats. There was a space seat where somebody else had, and then
Yeah.
I had 4 seats. And
Right.
so we were just like, all right, well, like I'll move over and be right next to them,
Yeah.
and then we have like a 4-seat window, and if that
Yeah,
other dude
which-
shows
Right.
up,
Yeah.
he has 4 seats to choose from.
Awesome.
Well, 3 extra seats,
Yeah.
to choose from, because I
Yeah.
didn't bring anybody extra. Jay had brought all 4 people
Yeah.
for him. And we're watching the show, and first of all, Aaron Lewis from Stained is fucking terrible.
Are they still
Oh
doing
my god!
shit?
And it's so political. It's so
been
like
a while, man.
he's
Get the
wearing
fuck
like
off
a
stage.
Fauci lied hat and
Oh,
like
God.
and he started a "fuck Joe Biden" chant,
Jesus.
which
Oh,
you
How'd that
know,
go over in New York? Are you on Long Island?
We're in Long Island.
Oh,
It's
okay.
I mean I have video of it. I can send it to you guys. It's
Yeah.
not that bad, but
Yeah.
they had like he had like cheers and applause pumped
scattered.
in.
Oh.
No,
Oh.
pumped in.
Oh,
Because dude,
God.
people
Like it's the
listen,
fucking NBA during
it
COVID?
started-
That's fucking
people,
ridiculous.
Did people say fuck Joe Biden? 100%.
Sure.
Yeah,
Because
of
Long
course.
Island is also a very red part of New
Yeah.
York, I think.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like the whole audience was like, fuck Joe
Yeah, exactly.
Biden.
Yeah.
But I just
Fuck, he's
videoed-
just cementing his fucking view like in my head of like fucking asshole. And
We're
fuck
just in
stand.
the video that I shot. It's just me like holding the thing, looking at my face, being like, and you can just. So, and he was also like hammered.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And we started making jokes. Like he started changing the lyrics to his songs. He was like, "It's been a while since." I'm gonna fuck it up. God damn it. My brains, I forgot all the riffs that I had. They were so funny. They were so funny. Oh yeah, and it's been a while since Maricopa County did the recount. And it's been a while since Donald Trump was fucking awesome. Damn it, my brain just is not fast some days. Since I've gotten up to Canada, man, like I swear to you, it's like I don't know,
It's
it's
the
the fucking
cold.
It's the
It's the
fog.
cold.
Yeah, there's
cold
something
or
going
the
on
fog
up here. Yeah.
or I don't know, just slow.
Yeah, man.
Tried to turn up the heat in here because we know you're not a fan of cold rooms.
Oh, that
yeah.
fucking
I don't
no,
know,
that theater.
that theater was
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
Windows or
was,
something.
yeah.
I have heat pumping back here.
The
but-
theater is
is freezing.
I mean, dude, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The fact that they would keep it's 40 degrees in the theater. Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, House of Comedy.
Yeah.
But fucking
Figure it out.
Tammy, thank you. I love it. It's great. Just beat more heaters. That's it. The club rules. Just it's cold. That's it.
It is cold.
So I forgot to add this. So finally, Korn goes up, and this ticket woman comes up to us, and she goes, "Hey, excuse me, somebody's actually in that seat." And I go, "Oh, well, I mean, I have these 4.
Yeah.
Can he just sit over there?" And for some reason, this guy wanted seat 6. And he comes up, and he's got like looks like he has like kind of like a bun, like a man bun.
Yeah.
And he's got a mask on. He's about my height, and I'm just like, "Hey man, do you mind? I've got like 4 seats here. I just want to sit next to my friends." And he goes, "Yeah, it's cool." And then he gets right next to me. And I mean, dude, I have 4 seats, so I'm taking 1.
Yeah.
He's got we have his seat, and then we have an additional 3 seats.
Yeah, you're not dealing with like a pillar situation that he does like he can't see around.
Before the next person, dude, he won't move over. Now this is where that's not even that bad. 'Cause at first I was like, I can give a fuck. The dude's right next to me. This is where it gets ridiculous.
Right.
The band starts. He undoes his fucking hair.
Oh no.
He's got dreadlocks down to his knees,
God.
and then starts whipping me like I'm Kunta Kinte. Like, and I'm like, I don't know if you've ever been hit by a fucking 45-year-old man's dreadlock.
No, but I imagine
In a headband?
I imagine
Not
it's
yet. Yeah.
You could hear the. It was like, ow, fuck. I was just like, ow. And like Jay would look at me, and I'm just like, what? I mean, like, what was like a. And then I kept saying to the guy, I go, "Dude, you've got fucking 3 seats.
Yeah.
Just
Like,
move
fucking
over.
move over.
By the end of the show, like he got mad at me when I told him to move. I go, "Dude, you could see."
Yeah.
Also, Korn is like, and I have nothing against Korn.
How are they sounding now, though? I mean, well, like the albums haven't been like great since like Issues, in my opinion. Like,
their performance at Woodstock
yeah,
is incredible.
absolutely.
The ocean of people and the waves that they created, and the raw power that new metal. Because it's so funny, we're talking about Snow Pods, and we were talking about the reaction because. When Nirvana and all that shit got so big, and then Kurt Cobain dies, if you watch that Woodstock documentary, they explain it perfectly. It was the death of because right in that little section of the early 90s, where Nirvana and Pearl Jam were the 2 biggest bands in the world, they were like, whereas like hair metal was like, fuck bitches, get money, fucking live in mansions. Grunge was like, no. Respect women, respect abortion rights, respect, we need to fucking put like, you need a waiting period for guns, whatever the fuck it was.
Right.
That was very progressive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Kurt Cobain dies.
Yeah.
And then what happens? You get Fred Durst.
No
you get
shit.
Fred Durst, which is a reaction to
Fair
all
enough.
that. You do
Fair enough.
everything in life. The idea of
But even like the sound too, like I mean, from like the grunge thing to even like what Korn was doing with like groove and shit like that or whatever, right? Like it kind of came, but like the attitude was completely fucking different.
It was
right?
Korn wasn't cool. Well, I mean, did he sexualize? Yes, his mic stand has titties and nipples.
Of course, yeah. But it's not.
But
not
I
like
would
the,
call it
not
like
Nookie though.
Well,
Not
and
to
Nookie was
fucking,
like, is this fuck bitches get money?
That was like I was in the 3rd grade when that came out. That shit fucking like dropped like a bomb. You know what I mean on all of us. Like
I can imagine.
Like, exactly.
Dude, I had a red baseball cap turned backwards. I was a raver when that shit dropped. So I mean, I was like wearing big kickwears, Jinkos. Like Limp Bizkit, we all Woodstock '99 watched that in my friend's college dorm. They had a house at University of Maryland, and we were just getting high watching. Like, this is the fucking coolest shit ever. And I mean, it was dope. And dude,
at the time, fuck yeah.
I remember when Korn came out in 1995, I was hanging out with the alternative kids because I didn't move on from Tassos and Ben and all them. I still hung out with them, but I started like listening to more like, Radiohead, and I was like, Blur and Oasis and all these other different bands that were starting to come out. And so I started hanging out with a guy that was into punk rock, Paul Bettany, and Courtney Kelly and this other chick, Marissa. And we went to go see Korn. They wanted to go see Orange 9mm, and Korn was opening for them at the original 930 Club. Now, we didn't get in because it was sold out. Because Korn, who was the opener, was already bigger and more of a draw
than
No
Orange
shit.
9mm because
Yeah.
Blind did come out. And
Okay,
I bought
fuck yeah.
Blind. I bought that record. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you see that performance of them at Woodstock, and you're like, holy shit. So we were explaining to Soder, dude, Korn, Jonathan Davis is going to annihilate.
Fuck yeah.
Now, here's the thing. He had a really bad case of COVID, so he was had to cancel the shows. He had, I think he had like a bad chest infection.
Yeah.
So his energy that show was really sad in the sense of what Korn is capable of.
You want to see like an Adidas suit soaked in sweat and like.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude,
You
he
know
was.
what I
I
mean?
mean,
Yeah.
he sang. He wasn't moving around. He sat a lot of it.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
But there is something really lame about a 50-year-old man new metal scatting.
What do you don't think that's cool, Josh? We don't think that's. I thought that's
in the
pretty cool,
20s
man.
when he's like, go something that the dreadlocks
Yeah.
are
Oh,
going,
yeah.
and the audience is like young and sexy.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like,
My friend can do Twist like the beginning of it, and it's the gayest thing in the world, but it's also the most impressive.
Stop, because at the last goddamn comedy jam at Skankfest South in Texas, Jay wanted to do Twist into
yeah.
and do All Day I Dream About Sex. And
Awesome.
we did it.
Yeah.
And big ups to my guitarist, Joel Rotowski, who literally had like a moment. They were in the hotel room trying to learn it that morning. And he was like, no. Before I even get to that, I gotta say this to Joel because Joel is so talented, but he's literally like, okay, so they're going through the songs that they're gonna have for that show because we've just come off a week of shows in Cancun, and we had a day to learn the songs, or they had a day to learn the songs for Skankfest. And they're going through song to song to song. They go, all right, let's do the Korn one. This will be super easy. And as he's like looking at like the tablature and stuff, he's like, wait, this tuning is really weird, and it's played by two guitars on 7-string.
Yeah, it's like dropped fucking E or some shit.
And then he literally just sits back on the couch. And I remember looking at him, I go, Joel, are you all right? He goes, I don't know if I can do it. It's two guitarists in weird tuning on 7-string guitars. I only have one guitar.
It's like deep and high squealy and shit.
Oh
Like that's
my
fucking
God.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he pulled it off, but
That's awesome.
Jay
Nice.
pulled it off enough. It wasn't right.
Yeah.
But
Right.
nobody gave a fuck. The
Exactly.
crowd,
I'd
Yeah,
say
Skankfest,
yeah,
we could
fuck.
have
They
just
can't
made
really-
noise. The crowd's
Totally.
gonna
Yeah.
go crazy anyway.
Yeah.
But Jay, he goes, all right, Josh, we're on stage. He goes, are you ready to do this? I was like, all right, man, you're starting it because I don't know Korn like he does.
No, yeah,
Right.
He
exactly.
loves
Yeah.
Korn. Dude, he starts scatting.
There's
Yeah.
like a
Dude,
lyric to
Dude,
it.
there's 700 people at
Yeah.
this show just
Yeah.
packed in. This is a full concert.
Hell yeah.
Right.
This
yeah.
is a full punk rock metal concert.
Yeah.
And we talk about it this day. He did not break eye contact with me. Because
Yeah.
he was so embarrassed that if he would have looked out and seen everybody, a fucking 42-year-old man going,
Twist.
oh, God. I
That's
mean,
fucking awesome.
and I don't even
Funny.
know it,
That
and
is
I
so
just
fucking
added
funny.
my like, ga, 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 ga.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, not far off, man.
It's so
fuck,
fucking
that's so
lame.
funny.
But Korn, all of that shit came from bringing it back. To
Bringing it
start to
back.
buy somehow.
Yeah.
We're like
Wow.
almost right
Yeah.
at the hour. Like, yeah, let's land the plane. Bring it
So-
back for us,
Full
Josh.
circle.
Yeah.
So there's a thing, and that's where, to take it back to the beginning thing that you even said, this is stepdad rock. For a guy that came from punk rock,
Yeah.
it just,
You didn't let me get to the end where I actually enjoyed the record at the end.
know,
right? Like
I
this
know you
is a
enjoyed
moment
it.
of growth.
I
for
know
me.
you
This is-
enjoyed it.
this
I
is-
know
this
you
is a day of
enjoyed the
growth for me,
record.
Josh.
I know you enjoyed the record. Yeah, I know you enjoyed the record because it's a good album.
Really
Yeah.
is.
It's a really good album. It's a moment in time. I feel like the record holds up completely. I don't think it's like, whereas Limp Bizkit, you listen to it and you're like, oh man, this
That's
is
not
this
gonna
is
age well.
1999.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
This
is
is
a time
This is
capsule, sure.
this is Woodstock 99. This
Yeah.
is sexual assaults.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is fucking people covered in shit. Like, like Limp Bizkit had a moment recently. My friend Justine Marino, big shout out to her. I love her. We were talking about it because she actually likes Limp Bizkit, kind of like she loves the 90s nostalgia of it.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
She sang Rolling at the goddamn comedy jam, and it was great.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
But Limp Bizkit's not on the radio at all.
No.
At all.
No.
Korn. I don't think Korn is really on classic rock radio stations.
I don't think. Yeah. You might
Plush,
get a Power Hour or something.
Plush, Wicked Garden,
Yep.
and Sex Type Thing.
Yep.
Those 3 songs. Maybe Cracker Man. Maybe Dead and Bloated.
I want to say Creep. I've heard as well.
Oh, Creep!
Oh, yeah,
Oh my
definitely Creep.
God!
Like, I mean, one of the bigger singles of the 90s.
Oh my God! How did I forget about Creep? Holy shit, dude! Creep for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Definitely
sure.
big,
We were doing the homework last night, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I know half this
Yeah.
album. Like, this,
Creep
these
is
were,
a
this is a
great
big fucking
song.
record.
It
Yeah.
is.
It's
It's a
the
really good
album
song.
is phenomenal, and it's like it's something. It holds up. There's something about the music from the 70s. And that, like, Led Zeppelin holds
Oh,
the
fuck,
fuck
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
up.
Sure.
The Beatles hold
Yep.
up. Even though the Beatles broke up in 1970, there's like, I think Renegade by Styx, that
Absolutely.
holds up.
Yep.
Yeah.
The 80s, some songs, Guns N' Roses, for sure.
Yep.
Metallica, for
Definitely.
sure. But not, some of the early thrash stuff, I don't know, not so much. But, Metallica literally grow and kind of
By
change
the time you
their
get into
sound.
Black Album and like and like Justice and stuff like that, or sorry, like Master Puppets, I think it's like it's undeniable. I don't know like where those are like as far as like years are concerned, but
I don't think that Master of Puppets is played on classic rock stations, though.
maybe not classic
Yeah.
rock, no. But like for a fan of like heavy music or something, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. If you listen to like Battery or something like that, you can get the fuck into that. I think like that as
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
like so sorry, but yeah, to your point of
So-
whether or not they hold up on classic rock records.
But I
or
think
radio.
that, anything off of Pearl Jam's first record, anything
Yeah.
off of Nirvana's record. Cause
Oh, yeah.
that dude, I mean, it Smells Like, not Timber Like Teen Spirit. Nevermind is, one of the, according to Rolling Stone, is, one of the best records of all time. It's in the top 10.
But I think
Right,
but
yeah.
even like with like In Utero and the stuff they did before, like Heart Shaped Box, you're gonna find all that stuff. I think like
It's
still
in
on
utero,
there, right?
in utero, because I did that on the podcast. Is literally a fuck you to the record company.
Yeah.
It's not them. They're not trying to make Nevermind again. They're actually trying to even go more punk and more
Yeah.
like noise as to not be the band that was accepted by the world. Kurt
Yeah.
Cobain hated the fame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why he's dead.
Totally.
Yeah.
Look at Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam, same thing. They did not want to make another 10.
Yeah.
So Versus is way different. And then when you get to fucking, I think the third record is Vitology. That's like their Pet Sounds in the sense of like
Yeah.
they're doing all this different shit. Like every band. Stone Temple Pilots made the first record. The second record is basically an extension of that, a little bit different. And then the third record, it's a totally different band,
Yeah.
but it's still within the Stone Temple Pilots wheelhouse. And then the fourth record is just, post heroin.
Yeah.
Every song is about his addiction. And post that record, I fall off on knowing the music that they made because I just never liked it. I remember Days of the Week was off of that new record. I was like, this song's terrible.
Yeah.
But Core, it's just this record from my childhood that I can put on at any moment and be like, one, just taken right back to my youth, how I felt, where I was, the friends I hung out with, the clothes that I wore, everything. Like it's all just, it's like I don't know if you ever saw the new TV show on HBO Watchmen where she takes those memory
yeah.
pills of her
Yeah,
grandfather. It's like I
Fuck,
just
they
get
need to see
taken
that.
right there.
Yeah.
But back to what I was saying before because I'm sorry I'm all over the place.
Oh, dude, don't worry about it. No, go for it. Yeah.
There's a music. I say this a lot on the podcast. This is why I didn't like that you called it stepdad rock. Is grunge.
I just pitched the joke to Jackie last night.
Grunge was a reaction to hair metal, and then when Kurt Cobain dies, then you have Korn and you have fucking Limp Bizkit, and that became so big, and then that got too big, and then you have the Strokes. So we're constantly.
Yeah.
It's never just going like that. Like, and they thought in the Age of Enlightenment that history is progressive. It's not. We constantly.
It's like cyclical because by the time the Strokes come back, the Iggy Pop riff is like is again now like the biggest thing on the radio. You know what I mean? Lust for Life or
exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
And I think hip hop is about to have a complete and utter change because hip hop's gotten so big now,
Yeah.
and it's become like arena rock.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have this like downside. Somebody's gonna do something raw, like that's why Kendrick Lamar
Yeah.
is the most respected hip hop artist. So you could sit here and say Drake is the biggest and Kanye West is the biggest, but Kendrick Lamar is the one who has his records in the National Library of Congress because
And
it's
his
like,
albums are actually rap. Like fucking
Exactly.
Drake and Kanye released like I guess 2 of the biggest albums this year, but it's not hip hop. They're just
Totally,
like,
and like the way that I like it, and you don't want to be like an older dude. I think there's like what a lot of young kids are doing now. I kind of see like the next generation of like punk or whatever. It doesn't sound the same as but it looks, you know what I mean? It's DIY, it's aggressive, it's kind of out there, but it's almost like, you know, like a new generation of like hip hop kids that don't necessarily need a band to do that kind of thing. But like the hip hop that I like and that I kind of keep going back to or whatever still kind of has to have like a core or a root. I'll give credit to something that sounds completely different and I'll try something new, but if I'm going to go and press play on something, then I do want it to be in that thing. Kendrick Lamar is like, oh, who's better than that right now?
I just think that you know, it's I'm 42 years old. I am the age of a stepdad, I guess. You know,
Fuck, mine don't suck, Josh. Where were you? Where were you when Shelly was out there hunting?
I don't feel 42. Is that Shelly your mom?
Oh yeah.
What's up,
Shout out to
Shell?
Shell.
I don't feel 42. I don't feel old. Like I just don't. I still feel the same way I felt when I first heard that record. It's like nothing's changed except just the outside. The inside is still this youthful thing.
Totally.
So the idea of like it being classic or it being stepdad rock, it's just rock and roll, and it's like, you know, rock and roll will never die if it's made with love and there's a passion behind it.
Absolutely.
And an energy, it just carries on. That just like I could put on Nookie and still be like, yeah, I mean,
You could see it.
it rocks, dude.
Of course.
It's the song fucking slaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the people that are fans just don't like, dude, I went to go see Beck. I love Beck.
so
And I went to go see Beck at Irving Plaza in New York about a month and a half ago.
Which Beck did you get? Like Odelay or like? Because there's
No.
There's a whole lot of Beck.
This was
you know
all
what I mean?
acoustic. All acoustic.
Oh,
It was
damn.
one of the best shows.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've seen Beck twice like that. I saw him in Santa Cruz in 2013, May 2013. 600-seat theater, and halfway it's 3 members, him, his pianist, and his bass player, and a drum machine, and him being like, "What do you guys want me to play?"
That's
and
awesome.
him just playing.
Oh, fuck.
And he did that again in New York because he was just in town, and he was like, "I'm gonna do a quick show." And I remember I got tickets, and then my friend Alex Edelman was opening for him doing stand up. So Alex knew I'm a huge Beck fan, so he's like, "I know you bought a ticket, but just come up
That's
and
awesome.
fucking hang
dude.
in the VIP." And it's like Sean Lennon's there, and I know Sean. I'm on Sean and Les Claypool's record. I did VO
Oh, cool.
for their second album for
Nice.
this one song. And so I'm cool enough with Sean. And then after the show, we go to the after party, and I'm hanging out with Beck and his manager and all these people, and it's just like great. And it was just this magical night. But the point of it is, when you look out and who's in the audience, yeah, man, there's a lot of gray hair.
Oh
There's
shit,
a
yeah.
lot of
Totally.
gray hair. There's
Right.
not people in their 20s there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all late 30s,
Yep.
early 40s, 50s, and maybe even early 60s. And it's just, dude, it's just like, yeah, man. It's like, it's the bands that you fuck with.
Totally.
Yeah.
That you
Totally.
thought were the coolest thing at 20.
yeah.
You're going to go see them when you're 40, and you're going to look at the audience and go, fuck, man.
Fuck, I've been into this since like probably like 11 or 12 or whatever. Found the thing that I'm into, and I'm still like really like heavily into it. And I still go to like to festivals and shit. When I go to punk rock bowling in Vegas, like there's not a the youngest kids there are like the punk dad that has their little baby kind of fitted out in the patched vest or whatever, right? There's not a whole lot of like that, you know what I mean? The early generation, it's basically just us. I might be on the lower end of it at my early 30s, right? Which is kind of is what it is. But
It's going
like
to happen to you. It's going to happen to you
Mm-hmm.
and to all your listeners.
hell yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and hopefully one day you'll be able to talk about it on a podcast.
Well, we appreciate the fuck of you coming over,
thank
man.
you
This is
so
great.
much for
This is
coming
so much
out.
fun.
This was pretty fucking awesome.
My
Yeah.
pleasure.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to like plug anything, I'm sure they know who
Yeah.
the fuck you are.
Yeah.
Follow me at Josh Adam Meyers on all social media, joshadammeyers.com for tickets to my shows, youtube.com/Josh Adam. It's always Josh Adam Meyers, whatever is before it is different, but Instagram, all that shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I'll just be out on the road. Come check me out.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Hell
You
yeah.
can expect a bump from this.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Love you guys.